everybody, and welcome. And this is the Midnight McBride Show, and this is episode 17. And the guest today is Sally Bolton, and we've called this show Eat, Train, Love. And I'm going to introduce you to Sally Bolton.
Hi.
Hey, Sally.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good.
Good.
Yeah. So, Sally, eat, train, love.
Correct, yes.
I'm assuming that is a pun or a play on the words from the movie.
It is indeed.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
And we'll probably talk about that in a bit because we talked about it in the pre-show chat.
Yep.
And we know why you've used that name, which is quite clever, so we'll go there.
Yeah.
So, Sally, a Bolton girl?
Berry, actually.
Berry.
I'm a Berry lass. Yeah, but it's not that far away, is it really?
No. So, a Berry girl.
Yes.
And did you go to school in Berry?
I did. I went to Greenmount County Primary School,
Right.
which was just the best. Absolutely loved it. And then I went to Woodhay High School, which was fairly new. It's fairly new high school, actually, at the time when I went.
Right.
And, yeah, again, loved it. I loved school.
Had a good time?
Yeah, just everything. I thrived in everything. I took part in loads of extra school activities, the lot, sports, creative stuff, drama, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So I ask if you're a Bolton girl because we met through, I became aware of you through social media.
Yes, yeah.
We'll get to that. But you actually came to one of the meditation classes that I did, one of the very first ones I did as well.
It was in a little cafe in Bolton, and it was it probably a couple of years ago now? I think time's flown, but I remember being upstairs in the little cafe and there was about 10 of us there. Yeah, and it was an afternoon and it was fab.
It'll be the lady that owned it was called Dawn and her daughter Chloe, and they ran it between them. And it was the Healthy Indulgence Cafe, and it was about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
something like that.
Gosh, was it that long ago now? Oh my God, time's flown.
Yeah. So we'd met briefly then.
We did.
But I'd since become aware of you on social media, and you're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn,
the usual,
etc.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'd seen some things on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think I'd seen a sort of a before and after picture of your training, and you were like super fit before and then super fit after.
You're too kind.
And also recently I'd seen that you've been doing pull-ups as well, which is, and this isn't being sexist or anything, but generally men can do more pull-ups than women. This is a fact. But you can throw them out, can't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes practice, but I think it's one of those things that those and push-ups are the things that a lot of women come to me and say, I'd love to be able to do a pull-up. I'd love to be able to do a push-up. And I think for me, like pull-ups particularly are really empowering. I can't really describe it, but I just feel really strong and powerful when I do them. Yeah. And that's, for me, that's a real buzz. I absolutely love it.
Just doing one pull-up's difficult, isn't it? I mean, most blokes, if you're a pretty fit bloke, you might be able to do 8 or 10.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I've seen you do 5 or 6 on... Is that correct?
Yeah. But I remember training about 3 or 4 years ago, and I said to my trainer at the time, because I like to have a trainer as well, I said, my goal is to do 10 pull-ups. So it took us about a month to get there, but I did it. But more recently, I've been doing them with added weight as well. So you put a belt on and then you add weight to it as well.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, that's quite extreme. Yeah.
But good fun. Yeah. For me anyway.
The lady that did the show prior to this one, Alexandra Jessica Fitness, she's a bodybuilder, but there's lots of different categories.
Yes.
And most people think that it's going to be a really, a huge hench woman, but at the lower end, they do toned fitness and bikini and things like this. And I think she's the 2nd or 3rd class up.
Yes, yeah.
She's sporty and muscly, but not massive.
Not massive,
but you know, very, very fit, obviously.
Yeah.
And she's the same. I think I've seen her do pull-ups with the belt on, with the weights on as well.
Yeah. It's good fun when you get into it. And it's like when you achieve one, it's amazing. And then obviously you want to do more. So yeah, it's a good little goal to have.
So have you always been sporty? I mean, I probably didn't make it clear you're a personal trainer now, aren't you?
That's right.
That's what you do.
Yes, yeah.
And were you always sporty growing up at school, or did that come later?
No, always. From as long as I can remember. I mean, being a little tot, probably out on my bike. I know that I used to do a lot of walking with my family. So I think I had my first pair of hiking boots when I was about 5 years old. Yeah. And I know when it was my dad's 40th, I was about 6 at the time, we went up Great Gable for his birthday. And I went marching up on my own. I was very proud of myself. So, and then at school, obviously, I was involved in all the sports. So netball, hockey, rounders, the usual stuff. And that just carried on through school, college, university.
Yeah. So it's always been a big part of your life. And
huge.
And you've always been, a lot of people actually find sport later on in life, but it's, you've always been fit, healthy.
Yes. Yeah. I think it was probably one of the things that I excelled at. So of course, if you excel at something, you realise at an early age that that's something that you enjoy doing. So I think my parents probably pushed me a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sally, Eat, Train, Love. Now, I've seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And I've watched it with my partner, Willow. Great movie.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the title, I deduced this when we had the chat. And
very clever.
Hopefully correctly, that in order to have sort of a happy life, there's several elements, it's made up of several parts. And like the movie, Eat, Pray, Love, it involves eat, train, love. So love would be, being in a healthy state of mind and being happy.
Yeah.
Eat, obviously, your nutrition's massively important. And train, exercise. So it's a holistic approach to well-being, would you say?
Very much, very holistic. And that came about really as I was kind of like 4 or 5 years into my journey as a personal trainer. And as I started to work more with clients, I just started to see that it was way more than just training.
Yeah.
And obviously nutrition's really important, obviously. But I think because as I started to go through some life challenges as well, and then I started to recognise it in clients. So the love in Eat, Train, Love actually stands for love yourself, which is all focused around mindset, obviously, that self-worth, self-acceptance. And I think out of all of the 3 of them, for me now, that is the most important part of it.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I say if you're not what you call happy or you don't have inner peace, then your body doesn't work very well because you've got stress and tension in the system, so you don't digest your food as well, your immune system doesn't work as well, you have a busy mind, you don't sleep as well.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden everything else starts to falter.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you get this operating system working correctly and you're happy, removing the stress from your life, then naturally you start to want to put good things inside it because you feel good. You don't want to put a big fat greasy burger inside you when you feel good. Usually a lot of eating is for when people are unhappy.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. You make better choices when you have that self-worth.
Exactly.
Then you definitely make better choices. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you become peaceful, then the exercise becomes easy because you've more energy and you're happy, you're energized again. I've known people that are super fit but have been tense, stressed and perhaps depressed slightly as well.
Yeah.
And then although they can get to a certain point with the training, they can't really get beyond that because the mind's not in the right place.
Exactly.
I talked to Sandy, who did a couple of shows with me about competition, and the only time where he didn't win a fight, he actually lost on points. That happened when his head wasn't in the right place.
Yeah.
Now he was as fit as all the other fights he'd had. No difference in the training.
Yeah.
But what he'd let done, there were a few factors that he'd let bother him before the start of the fight. And if your mind's not in it or you have self-doubt and you don't start to believe in yourself, then you can lose the fight before you've even got in the ring.
Exactly. And just this last week with a client of mine, had this conversation with them and it was like, what are you actually saying to yourself right now before you're about to start doing the exercise? What's going on in your head?
Yeah.
And she turned around and she looked at me and she said, I'm telling myself I can't do it. So I said, right. I said, so how can we change that then? She said, well, I can just tell myself I can do it. I said, right, well, let's do it then. So she did. And hey, presto, she did like a really good press up, but she was telling herself before that she couldn't do it. So it's that self-talk that you have that goes around in your head that has a huge impact.
I say in the book that if you tell yourself before you start something, you say, oh, I can't do this, then you can't do it.
Yeah,
If you tell yourself before you're doing it, you're thinking, I can do this, then you can. It's that simple. Henry T. Ford always said that whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. Brilliant
so
saying.
True.
It's all about mindset and
but
self-belief. I mean, that's been proven now with placebos anyway. If you believe something works, irrelevant of how it works, if you believe it works, then it usually does.
Yeah, exactly.
So with this then, do you also incorporate for yourself, for example, do you meditate, do you do yoga, any of these things?
Yeah. Now, that's a really good question because, yes, I'm a huge believer in it. And for me, I think that's one of the habits that I need to practice more because I'm a huge believer in it. But that because it's not the strength training and the nutrition is my go-to. Like the yoga and the meditation is something that I have to practice.
Yeah.
It's not automatic for me just yet, but I advocate it. I think it's amazing. And when I do it, I notice a huge difference, like a massive difference.
Yeah.
So I know it's one of those things that I just need to get back into the habit of doing.
See, for me, my core elements were meditation and yoga, and then the sport was around that. But it's actually turned a corner. Although meditation and yoga are massively important, for me now I have to go running. You know, if I get stressed or things are getting on top of me, if I go and hit the hills for 2 or 3 hours and just go for a nice long run, at the end of that, I feel recharged.
Yeah.
All the knots are untangled, and anything that was bothering me before, generally, it's either gone.
Yeah.
Or I know what I'm going to do about it and I have a solution, you know.
Yeah.
So that element for me now, the sport, like perhaps yourself, has become huge.
And it's interesting you say that because I've always said that for me, training is my meditation. It's like movement meditation.
Yes.
So I'll go into the gym and people have said to me in the past, I used to see you in the gym and you had your headphones on and you'd be so focused. And I am when I'm in the gym. I have my music in and I'm just for that hour, however long it is, I'm in the zone and I'm not thinking about anything else. All I'm doing is I'm really present. So I'm just thinking about what I'm doing. So that I've always said that's a form of meditation for me.
Yeah, I say that any endurance sport that I do, once I'm an hour into that sport, I become fully present.
Yeah.
I start to focus on my breathing. Everything else disappears and it's meditative.
Yeah,
you know,
it is 100%.
Although your body's benefiting, it's actually about the mind as well.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
It untangles all the knots.
It does, definitely.
Yeah. So, Sally, with yourself, do you drink? Are you vegan, vegetarian? A little bit more about, you know, your own personal sort of self-care package.
Yeah, my lifestyle. Drinking, I'm not completely against alcohol at all, and I have been known to have a drink, but it's not my go-to at all. I could easily go. Well, we were talking about this just before, weren't we? I can probably go almost a full year without touching a drop. Like I really can. It just doesn't bother me at all. I don't find it necessary because people use it for various things, don't they?
Most people use it as a coping mechanism.
Exactly, to make them feel more relaxed, more confident or just whatever it is. But that's not my go-to. And I think probably from a really early age, you know, when you used to binge drink when you were at high school because it's, you know, it's what you do when you're younger. And I just remember back then being really ill from it, like on more than one occasion. I just think, I don't actually enjoy this.
No.
Like really ill. So as I got older, I kind of tried to stay away from it. So now as an adult, even though there still is peer pressure, I believe, to drink, but I just don't have those circle of friends that really push you into it. So I can take it or leave it. I do like a gin and tonic every now and then though, Patrick. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't drink often, and I've gone way over a year without having a drink, and generally it'd be maybe twice a year, but in the last 4 weeks I've drunk twice. So I've sort of had my yearly quota in the last 4 weeks now.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah,
and even if you drink next month, it's okay too. It's just...
I think the difference is when I used to drink, you know, going back a few years ago when I drank, it was because I was unhappy and I drink to excess.
Yeah.
Now, if I drink, I think, okay, do I fancy a drink? Do I feel like it? Who's the company I'm with? And if I'm relaxed and I think, I'd quite like to have a drink, then I'm doing it. I'm choosing to do it. I'm not doing it because I need to do it.
Yeah.
And I usually have fun. They say drink when you want to remember, don't drink when you want to forget. If you're not feeling good and you're unhappy or anything, then drinking's probably the worst thing you can do.
Not a good
idea. 'Cause
idea.
it magnifies your mood, usually, drinks.
Yeah, definitely. I think you made a really valid point there as well. It's like it's your choice. I have been out at an event once and I had a friend that kept pushing me to drink, and I was like, I'm actually really okay.
Yeah.
It was more of a problem for them than it was for me, because I was having a great time anyway. And I'm actually, to be honest, sometimes I'm better without drinking. I'm quite an extrovert anyway, when I want to be. So I just didn't feel that I need to have it, really.
The response I got when I used to, because I just stopped going in pubs,
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy being around people that are drunk when I'm not. And
there is that.
the response I got was, "You're boring."
Right.
I know I wasn't boring at all. I just chose that, The thing is as well, if I have a drink the next day, even if I only have, I don't know, a couple of pints, I get anxiety. It might be mild anxiety, but I get a feeling in my stomach and I don't feel great.
Yeah.
And if I've had a lot to drink, I feel like death for about a week because I spend all this time trying to put the right nutrition in and running through mountains, and then I go and put this poison in my body.
Your body's just like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah. And your diet, Sally. So I used to be vegan. I'm not now. I was vegetarian, then vegan. And it's not often, but I do sometimes eat meat. What about yourself? I'm assuming with you being the personal trainer and a fitness guru, then you probably eat meat, do you?
I do. Degree, yeah? I've always had meat in my diet, and I'm not against any other form of diet. I think it's personal choice.
Yeah.
And I think, as long as you're aware that your body really needs certain macros, so protein being the number one. Yeah. If you're aware of that and how you need to get that in order to, have optimum health, then I think that's totally cool. But for me personally, I love meat. Well, do you know what? I don't actually eat a lot of red meat. I do have a treat on a Friday night, which is my steak. But other than that, I tend to eat a lot of fresh fish. I eat a lot of fish and a lot of chicken.
Yeah. And fish, fruit, salad.
Yeah.
That's
the kind of lighter side of the meats. But, I was working with a girl a couple of months ago. She specialises in hormones. And she was actually saying, by avoiding red meat, you're actually missing out quite a lot of essential vitamins and minerals that you get from like the red meat. So
you have to have, for instance, I think it's your B16 and other things there's certain things you can only find in meat.
Exactly.
So you'd have to have a supplement.
I was like, okay, I probably did know that at the back of my head, but I'd done various photo shoots in the past, and I've always opted for the leaner meats. So and then it becomes a bit of a habit, that, doesn't it? So I think I just got out of the habit of having a bit of red meat in my diet. It's not because I was concerned about it, because every now and then in the news it's like, oh, don't eat bacon because it causes cancer and blah blah blah. But now I'm kind of thinking, do you know what? Once a week and that's cool with me.
Another key thing is moderation with everything.
Exactly.
And variety and moderation. Mix things up a bit and have things in small amounts, and you can get away with quite a lot when you do that as well, can't you?
Yeah, you really can.
A cream cake, once a fortnight, it's probably not going to.
I'm all about the cake, but obviously, like you say, it's in moderation. Yeah. Definitely.
A myth that maybe we dispel as well is that you can, if you have put that time aside to prepare your food and stuff. I've had 2 ultra running champions on the show, and also Alexandra, who's the bodybuilding champion, a current Miss Britain, and they're all vegan. They're all vegan. Right. So you can actually be at this level of sport and be vegan if you, like you said, though, you make sure that you, for instance, with Gareth, who's a runner, is having beans and pulses and lots of things and making sure he's still getting the correct amount of protein. Yeah.
And that's the important part of that message, is as long as you're aware of what you need to eat in order to make sure that you're eating optimum for your health. Because I also, on the flip side of that, there's a lot of vegans that and we see it all the time. Vegans talk about being vegan a lot. Yeah. And I know lots of vegans. I hate labels as well, but, they don't eat great.
A flexitarian's a new one, and that means you just do what you want.
Is that all right? I've not heard that one yet.
Flexitarian, yeah. It's the new term,
Right, but, they don't necessarily eat great. Just because they're choosing not to eat meat and animal products, but they're still eating a lot of rubbish.
Yeah. Well, there was a restaurant in Ramsbottom, and it was a vegan restaurant. I can't remember the name of it now. And I went in thinking that it was just going to be incredibly healthy.
Yeah.
And the food was wonderful.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. There was burgers and cakes and lots of sugar and
Yeah.
things. And I thought, this isn't healthy at all.
Lots of carbs going on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So maybe we'll talk just a little bit. I don't really want to dwell on COVID at the minute. It's basically everybody's talked about nothing else for a while now. But
Yeah.
lockdown, has it had an effect on you? And, you know, I talk about, particularly on the radio show, each week I give a few tips talk about my life and how I'm coping with it, you know, things that help me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Lockdown. Interesting, really, wasn't it? Or is it still? In fact, I wrote a post about lockdown just last week on my Instagram. Well,
I suppose to correct myself there as well, maybe not lockdown, just with some of the limitations that have been imposed on us, how that affects you. Because lockdown in theory is sort of over, maybe.
Is it? I
Or
don't know.
reduced,
Sort of,
yeah.
whatever. But it actually hit me hard. Not going to lie. And
everything you do is one-on-one, isn't it? You know, so.
It's one-on-one. So the studio closed. So that's my business gone.
That's
and
Horwich, is it?
It is Horwich, yeah. And, you know, I always knew that my business is it's my absolute passion in life. It's my purpose in life. And when you're that passionate about something and suddenly that control is taken away from you, like you're not able to fulfill your purpose.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
You go from, you feel, rather than being empowered and being in control, and then you feel like a victim and you feel helpless, and it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it took me a while to kind of get my head around that. Because it is such a huge part of my life. It's a massive part of my life. And of course, you lose all that contact time with people as well. Like, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
To suddenly have that taken away from you and it's not your choice, it's like, oh. So, yeah, no, it hit me hard. It did hit me hard.
At the beginning of it all, I became quite down. You know, and I had the telly on all the time, following it every day and all that. Now I have the telly turned off. I spend all my time outside in nature.
Yeah.
And it has a very small impact on my life now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because it's change, isn't it? And change, it takes time. Now, I guess some people can take change and turn it into a positive, and then kind of like it's like you're going down this journey, and then all of a sudden there's this big curveball, and it's like, do you stay at the bottom of it or do you kind of work your way around it? So for me, because I've had other life challenges, it took me a little while to process it, and I was like, okay, right, well, we can work with this. Yeah. And then you kind of just adapt, don't you? Yeah. I always remember a quote from a film, and it's Hannah with Liam Neeson.
I know the film.
Yeah, and he says right at the start, adapt or die. And it's always stuck with me, that. And obviously that's quite extreme. We're not talking about dying here, but I do think, you know, it's kind of true, isn't it, in life? You either adapt to something or you kind of just, you know.
Yeah.
You don't really, and then what's the other option? So it was tough, but I'm fine now. I'm totally fine.
Well, you seem fine. Your energy levels are through the roof. You're incredibly bubbly, smiling, you know, so you seem like you're doing great.
Yeah, good. I'm in a good place.
Yeah. So, Sally, how do you go on with your, what I call it, your work-life balance? Because if you're doing what you love, then a lot of people distinguish, they go to work 9 to 5 and then they come home and then they try and factor in quality time and doing things they love. If you love what you do, is there space for anything else in your life? Or, you know, what else do you do? Because for instance, Alexandra, the bodybuilder, she's recently started walking and cycling, you know, with everything that's going on. So I have so many passions and I don't have enough space for them all.
No, I get that. It used to be, when I started out in the industry, which was, was like 11, 12 years ago now. When you're first starting out in anything, you work your ass off, basically, don't you? And I did not have work-life balance at all. But as you get older and wiser, you then go, right, okay, this is not how I want the rest of my life to be. So you then start adapting and changing things and putting that time into your diary. So kind of fast forward to now, I've actually got a dog, Cooper, who's quite famous in his own right.
We'll get to, we're
we'll
going to
talk about that.
Yeah. He's a TV star.
He is a TV star, but he forces me to kind of stop and take some time out of my day because I have to walk him daily.
Yeah.
And that's my opportunity to go out and get into nature as well. I don't know if you follow a guy called Jay Teeter on Instagram. I'm a huge fan of his.
What's he called?
Dr. Jay Teeter. He wrote a book years ago with his brother about metabolic. I can't remember the title of the book now, but he now talks about next level human, and he's amazing. But one of his posts last week was about stress and cortisol, and he referred to it as forest bathing, which I just thought was amazing.
That's a term that comes from the Japanese. That
I've never heard that before, and it was like, I love that. I totally love that.
The energy from the trees, it permeates you, and if you spend enough time in nature in a system that works with no resistance, in harmony with natural law, and it's all symbiotic. If you spend enough time in that environment, it affects you and you become peaceful.
Yeah, and it's so true because I live literally right on the edge of Rivington, so I just have to walk out my door, across the road, and I'm straight into the woodlands and the fields straight away. And I always feel, even on the days where it's like weather like today, it's rubbish, it's raining, even on days like that, when you've been out for an hour, like you come home, 100% feel more grounded.
Yeah.
You feel calmer. And again, I suppose that goes back to the meditative state, isn't it, as well? It's just like you're absorbing nature, so you're feeling calmer as well.
Until we are an enlightened being, any environment you spend your time in will have an effect on you. You spend your time with 100 people laughing in a room, you'll start to laugh your head off.
Yeah.
You spend your time watching... If you're in a war zone and you see, terrible acts, people maimed and injured, you'll become traumatized. You might have PTSD. If you spend your time in a perfect system where there's no resistance, where everything works in harmony, exactly the same principle applies. If you're in nature for long periods, you start to become peaceful.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. Yeah.
And it's interesting because so many people have said to me about Cooper, like, how is he so... Because he's really chilled out dog. And it's just like... I read years ago about dogs take on their owners' behaviours as well, because it's just me and him, and I'm quite chilled out because of what I do in a day. Like, he's really chilled out, but I think going out every day with him as well, I do believe we give each other the energy as well. Like,
of course you do. Yeah.
So that's what I tend to do. Going back to your original question, that I spend a lot of time with Cooper.
Yeah. Animals, insanity in animals doesn't really exist unless they're kept in captivity or unless they spend their time around human beings.
Yeah.
In nature, in the wild, it doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
And we definitely have an effect on them. And a dog, what a companion. Holding no resentment, always fully present. We're the only sentient beings on this planet that aren't always in the moment.
Yeah.
All plants, all animals are fully present.
Yeah.
Ducks flap the wings if they've got some tension, they've fallen out, they've had a fight, they flap the wings, shake it off, and they're back to zero again, and they're peaceful. So if you spend your time with a dog that's just full of energy and you treat your dog well and stuff, the relationship you have and the energy exchange, it builds like that. You pick each other up.
Yeah, I mean, he is, and he's been through a lot with me as well in the last 4 years, but he is my little bundle of joy, and he makes me smile every single day. It's unconditional love. He's a joy to be around, and he's got a lot to give though as well, so I don't keep that to myself. He's a therapy dog as well, so we actually go into primary schools and work with little ones as well, and the energy he gives off is just... I
had two ladies on the show, and it was Debbie and Catherine, and they both run what's called whole circle retreats. And Catherine has meditate with horses, and they actually have children that come along, and they meditate in a field with the horses, and then the horses become very relaxed and calm and docile, and they lie down, and the children can go and lean on them.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, it's so lovely. And seeing Cooper at work with the kids, it's just because he'll just stand there, and there can be like 10 kids like just draping themselves all over him, and he just literally stands there and takes it all, and the kids get so much out of it. So it's lovely to see. So I think he's an angel. I always refer to him as my angel, but I think he's an angel for other people as well.
See, it's funny as well, because years ago when I was younger, I couldn't go near a dog, and I think because I was angry and tense and stressed, the dogs knew that, and if I went anywhere near a dog, they would pick that up. I believe that human beings have the gift of language and communication. Dogs don't. And so most animals, dogs, horses, birds, are much better at sensing the energy of other living things and human beings, and they have this sixth sense, if you will. And if you're stressed and angry, they can tell that. When I became peaceful, now I can go up to any dog. Dogs come up to me. I'm totally relaxed. I'm not frightened, so I'm not tense. And they'll come up and they'll jump up at me, and it's a lovely experience.
Yeah,
and
100%.
They haven't changed. It's me.
Yeah, dogs are they're intelligent. Well, so are cats as well, and other animals. But you can definitely, dogs can really sense your energy. I definitely believe that. And also, like I said to you before, like Cooper's been around me through a lot of challenges in the last 4 years, and he just knows. He also knows I've had friends that have come around that have been going through really bad times, and like he just naturally will just go and sit on them and like put a paw on their leg or just kind of curl into them, and it's like he just instinctively knows. It's just
they need comforting. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It is so beautiful. Yeah, he's an angel.
So, Sally, on a slightly more serious note now, on your website, it's a wonderful thing, because a lot of people who are professional and successful in the fact that, whatever they're doing, they do it well, they quite often portray this image of how everything's perfect. But I think it's really good, like I do, and I talk openly about my past, and it wasn't great. Talking about some of the troubles you've had and the suffering and things that have gone on. And then people quite often realise that, you are quite human, you're a real person, and they relate and resonate with you. And when I read your website, you talk about depression, you talk about the bereavement of your parents, and you also talk about body dysmorphia or body image, and also having an eating disorder, and your divorce. So elements that people will probably relate to at least one of those things, So it's not always been an easy ride for you then.
No, and let me just kind of start by saying, like, by no means have I had like a terrible life, and I know that people go through all sorts of tragedies. But the reason why I talk about those things is because, like you say, I am human, and I do go through these range of emotions. I know I talk about positivity and taking care of yourself, and like that is like it's a deep core value of mine. But also, I'm human like everyone else, and life happens, right? Challenges occur, and if there's a lot we could talk about here, but it was identified last year that I had PTSD, and I hadn't even realised.
Right.
This is from childhood. I'll not go into that today, but what it has meant is that as an adult, still not fully understanding that I was suffering from that. Like I've had really bad bouts of depression, really bad bouts of depression.
I say to people that although I might preach inner peace and meditation and correct thought and things, I still have bad days. I don't have as many as I used to have.
Yeah.
Most of them are good days.
Yeah.
But I can still have a bad day or a bad couple of days, So I still have fluctuations and oscillations. It's not always a smooth ride for anybody.
And I think if someone says to you, that they're happy all the time, like I would question that a little bit, because like I know that there are genuinely people out there that are most of the time, like Sandy, for example, like he just radiates super positivity all the time, doesn't he? And I think that's amazing. And I obviously do that as well, but and that's why I like to talk about those things openly, because it's like it's okay to have days like that. It's okay to have weeks like that. And I think the reason why I talk about it is just to show that I'm relatable, but to also say, you can come out of it as well.
Yeah. I say as human beings that one of the most beautiful things, our purpose even being on this planet, number one is to experience joy and bliss. That's your purpose.
Yeah.
You're meant to enjoy life. It's not meant to be hard. It doesn't mean it's always going to be a smooth ride, but you need to factor this in and move towards the light. You want to experience joy and bliss.
Joy, yeah.
And Sandy, when he comes in the room, you feel his presence when he walks in the room. He radiates this.
Yeah.
He's a remarkable man.
Yeah.
But also the second thing, our purpose as human beings on this life, the most beautiful thing we can do is to turn a negative situation into a positive. And I've had people on the radio show, for example, who've been abused, and often they'd say, well, how can that be a positive? But if somebody then goes through a terrible experience, learns from it, finds a way to put themselves back together and cope, and then shares that with somebody else and helps them through a similar experience, that's it. That's such a beautiful thing.
And I think, do you know what? Do you remember that Will Smith video that came out? It might have been a couple of years ago now, and he talked about responsibility versus blame, was it? I think, and he talks about that, like bad things happen to people, and it's like it's not yours. It's not your responsibility that happened, but it is your responsibility to take that situation and turn it into because otherwise you go on suffering, you know. So at some point it's like so I played a victim for quite a while, and that's why I got into that state. But through lots of personal development and really looking introspectively, probably over the last 6 or 7 years, I've, like you said, you know, you kind of learn how to recognize it, and then you learn tools and strategies to help you come out of it. So like now, if I feel myself kind of dipping down a little bit, I kind of just stop and go, right, okay, what is it that's going on right now? And because I've been through really bad times, I have those skills now. And I think, especially, we just mentioned lockdown, and we're not going to talk about it obviously too much, but there's definitely been a massive impact on people's mental health. And I believe that my role as a coach now is leading more towards helping people with their mental health. Because people don't really know what to do, and it's still quite taboo, isn't it, to talk about depression and talk about, you know, I've got a couple of friends that have got bipolar, if you want to put a label on it. And it's still seen as a taboo subject.
At least it's getting better.
It is getting better.
With things like this, you know, like the show now where people come on, and everybody that's come on, a lot of the people excel now, and they've done amazing things, but most of them have had a rough ride. And not everybody, but most, and they're willing to talk about it, and that's fantastic. People are starting to open up.
And I think that's really important. And, you know, I'm not really a big fan of the word celebrity, but when kind of people in the public eye come out and talk about things like this, I think brilliant, because if they can come out and talk about it, more people will feel that, oh God, it's not just me. Because that's the thing with depression and other mental health disorders. They think it's just them, don't they? And they think they're the only one. And it's not true.
As well, it's about being the pioneer. Somebody's got to go, I'm not coping very well. I'm struggling. And then somebody else will go, oh, right, I thought I was the only one.
I know, right?
I'm not either. But somebody's got to go first. Somebody's always got to go first. And just say it like it is, you know. And then you'd be surprised. Everybody, we're all the same. We're all the same.
That's so true. And I think it's just that sigh of relief. It's like, oh, I thought it was just me. I thought there was something wrong with me. And it's that stigma. And it's actually when you realise you're not alone, and you're not and I think that's why a voice is really important. And quite often I'll talk about that on my social media. It's like, you're not alone. And if you want to reach out for me, and people maybe don't, but in the past I've had a lot of people reach out and just tell me their story. And sometimes just the act of writing it down and offering it out to someone else with no judgment can just be a bit of relief for them.
Exactly. Sometimes just getting it out. I say, if you've got something inside and it doesn't feel good and you leave it there, it will manifest and you'll become ill.
Exactly.
So you've got to get this out, and it can be writing the lyrics to a song. It can be turning the radio on and making your own lyrics up and singing it. I've had a shit day, whatever. It doesn't matter. It can be writing a book. It can be talking to a friend. It can be dancing. But in some way, when you don't feel good, getting that out.
Absolutely.
You know, and quite often it's just talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean they have any answers. They might not have any answers. But once you get it out and you share it, it feels better. It's like it's lifted. You've got rid of it.
Exactly. And it might just be for that moment. It might be for the next hour. It might be for another couple of weeks. But you've had that opportunity to just kind of offload and just get it out to someone, obviously in a safe space that's non-judgmental. So, I think that's kind of one of my big areas now as a coach, is allowing people that safe space. And it's like I always say to clients, it's a safe space for you. You can say whatever you like and I will never judge. Never.
And when you said, for a while you're a victim and now you've got the tools to turn that around, I find that things haven't changed. I still have ups and downs, but I've just developed, I've got techniques and tools now to put myself back together again fairly quickly. And I also see the signs of that deterioration early on. So I know when things aren't going great and I know what to do.
Exactly.
That's all.
And for me, as soon as I stop training consistently, that's when I know, because that is my absolute core. Like, and if I suddenly have a few days off, I'm like, I know there's something not quite right.
I say there's 5 sort of elements. There's, your nutrition, your diet, spending time in nature, exercise, and then meditation. So there's different elements, and I'd get 4 right and one would pop out, and then I get that, pull that back in, another one would pop out. And it's trying to get this balance right.
Yeah.
But I found that for me, out of all those things, the biggest thing for me at the minute for my mental health is running.
Yeah.
And if I don't run for any period of time, I start to get agitated. I start to struggle. And if I can just put my trainers on and disappear for a few hours, I come back, I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Let's go.
And I feel good,
Yeah, definitely.
I also say that it's our responsibility, your responsibility, mine, everybody's responsibility to get this right, because the energy that you give out to the rest of the world, basically, Wayne Dyer always said, if you squeeze an orange, out comes orange juice. If you're peaceful inside and you're put in a stressful situation, out pops a peaceful response.
Yeah.
If you're angry or stressed and you're put in a stressful situation, out pops an angry or stressed response.
Yeah.
So you need to get this right, because as you go through your day, that's the energy you're giving out to everybody. It's the only thing, you can't give out what you haven't got.
Exactly.
So how you feel inside, if you feel good and you try and find peace and, generate some happiness and bliss in your life, then when you go through your day, you give that to everybody. You self-generate that energy and you lift their consciousness, you improve their day. So
exactly. And that
it's important that you put that work in and you really
so,
try and get this right.
Yeah, it's so important. And because people often say, and it's something that I talk about a lot with my clients, is they talk about feeling selfish for having time away and working with me as a coach. And I always say to you, look, it's probably the least selfish thing that you're doing, because if you're looking after yourself and in doing that, you're feeling happier inside, then that radiates. So you're actually, it ripples. It's that ripple effect, isn't it? So if you're feeling really happy, then your immediate family are going to benefit from that, and then your friends and your colleagues, and then everyone that you meet.
I say, if you really care about your friends and family and the people you love, then it's your responsibility to get this right,
Absolutely.
to do a bit of inner work and try and emit and radiate that energy and that frequency.
Yeah, definitely. But there is very much, certainly amongst the clients that I've seen over the last 10, 11 years, the female clients particularly, they feel guilty for taking that time out.
Yeah, I talk about this in the book as well, right? Also, I say that you have to be selfish, and people say, what, selfish? And yes, if your cup isn't overflowing, if you don't fix yourself first, if you don't get yourself into a peaceful state, if you don't do that first, you can't help anybody.
Yeah.
You really have to try and get yourself right first. So it's not selfish. It's a necessary part of the process. If you want to help everybody else, you have to be selfish. You have to make some time for yourself and nourish your soul.
Exactly. I agree with that. But it's interesting, and it's quite a hard thing, I think, for women particularly, as
this guilt thing,
this maternal instinct to make sure that everyone else is all right first. And that's what happens. They basically, once upon a time, they were this person and they had this identity, and then all of a sudden they meet their partner, they maybe get married, they have children, they're at work. So they kind of start to dilute their self-identity, and they almost kind of, a lot of the time when women come to me, they've reached the stage where they don't even know who they are anymore, because they're a mother, they're a daughter, they're a wife, they're a colleague, and they just have no idea who they are.
No. If you put everybody first all the time, you become deflated and more deflated until there's nothing left in the tank.
Literally. And sometimes I see women that they've got nothing in, there's just nothing there, and they don't even know where to start. And I think with that, we were talking about it earlier on, people numb that pain with food, alcohol, just not looking after themselves.
That's why I think for a lot of people, so maybe you're a person, you're not physically fit, you're not eating properly, you don't feel like you can take on exercise at the minute, you're feeling guilty, you don't make time for yourself and stuff. A really good doorway into that process is maybe just a yoga class, an hour a week or something, where you just make a little bit of time for you. And you don't need to be super fit or anything like that. You can just go, turn up, do some breathing meditation, some stretching, and start there.
Exactly. And like you say, just start small. And sometimes I say to clients, even just 5 minutes a day. I mean, I talk to clients all the time about meditation, and quite often it's a big deal for them, because they might be really busy with their business or with their family or whatever it is. And I'll say, right, can you find 60 seconds that's 1 minute where you can just sit down and just with nothing else going on and just breathe, just 5 times, and it's like, yeah, I can manage that. So it's like, okay, cool. Like, well, let's just start with that.
Yeah.
Because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was BJ Hogg was talking about habits, and he said once upon a time it was believed that it was all about repetition. Well, actually, it's the feeling of success. So that if you ask a client to do 60 seconds of breath work, and they'll go, oh yeah, well, that was okay. So it's that feeling that, okay, yeah, that felt okay, so I can do that again. So that's going to encourage them to want to do it again. Yeah. So then it's building on that, and that's what will build the habit ultimately, is that feeling of success.
Yeah. It's setting yourself a goal, achieving it can be very small.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, actually, I did that. That was all right.
Exactly.
What else can I do?
Yeah.
And then you start along that path of self-belief and slowly moving outside your comfort zone.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's just small little bite sizes, and then they will grow and grow and grow. Yeah. And before you know it, you're meditating for half an hour a day.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
So, Sally, we'll talk about Bolton FM. You've been on Bolton FM a few times.
Yes.
And you've also Salford FM with Jimmy Petruzzi. Is that right?
Petruzzi, yeah.
Petruzzi?
Yeah.
I've only spoke to Jimmy once. He's obviously another presenter at the station.
That's right, yeah.
And he's a sports psychologist, isn't he? Yeah, he's about the mind as well.
Yeah.
And you did an interview with him. Is that on YouTube, is it, or something?
It would definitely be somewhere. It was probably the start of last year, I think.
I think he puts his interviews on YouTube. Even though they're audio, he puts them on YouTube.
Right, I'm sure he does, because he's very active on stuff like that. But he's a very interesting guy. I met him years ago.
He looks like a rock star, doesn't he?
He does. Have you seen his really long hair? He does. But I met him years ago. I went and did an NLP course with him and his business partner, Sarah, who I'm actually still really good friends with as well. And it's interesting, because you'll meet people in your life and they stay very much on the periphery, but then he must have seen a few things on my social media, and he got back in touch with me. It was probably he saw that I was on Bolton FM, and then he got in touch with me and said, would you come in and do the show? And that was, again, it was a good hour and a half chat, maybe an hour chat, but he's a really good interviewer, like yourself. Yeah. And again, it was just kind of like this, very much just roll with it. And
I think when people aren't conscious that they're being recorded, the cameras are off to the side and so on, and then you have eye contact and you just have the interview, then you relax and you're just having a chat. You know, and it just flows, doesn't it? So
that was really cool. And he's a really fascinating guy as well. Yeah. He knows a lot and he's done a lot in his life. So it was a good chat, that. Yeah.
And TV as well. Are you the TV star, or is it Cooper?
I would say Cooper. I'm like his sidekick.
On Granada Reports, you said, didn't you?
Yeah, Granada Reports. So it's actually Paul Crone, who's obviously the reporter on Granada. He's very well known. He's actually my neighbour. And during lockdown, we've just become great friends for life, really. And we'd gone down to the local field one evening, beautiful evening, and he said, I'm doing this piece about dogs and lockdown and going back to work, and he said, can I just do a little bit of filming with Cooper? So I was like, sure, yeah, no problem. So we went in the field, he did some really nice filming with him. And then on the way back, he said, right, so all I need now is just an owner that I can talk to. And then he just kind of looked at me and he just went, would you do it for me? And I was like, you've just emotionally blackmailed me into doing that. So I agreed, obviously, because he's a friend. That was good fun. That was good fun. So we appeared on it. It was 10 seconds, but he was definitely the star of the show, not me. Yeah.
And Sally, also, tell us about some awards, because I know you collect these now, don't you? You have several.
Can you see me wince then? I'm not really comfortable with this whole being nominated for things, just because it wasn't really a thing back then when I started out as a trainer. So, but having said that, yes, it's very nice.
Must be nice, though.
Of course it is, and it's a huge compliment.
It means you're valued. It means that people obviously think that you're very good at what you do.
Yeah, so yes, and I do actually really appreciate it. So last year I was nominated for the Bolton Health and Wellbeing Awards, and it was Inspirational Woman of the Year, which I was actually nominated for Personal Trainer of the Year as well.
Yes.
But the one that was obviously more important to me was Inspirational Woman, because that is just a huge, to be.
It's a good title, that, isn't it?
It's lovely, and I felt very blessed that I was, because the organizer of the awards said, I'll give you some of the feedback, after the awards, but she said to me, there's a lot of love out there for you, which is obviously really nice to hear. So the same things happened this year, but so the Health and Wellbeing Awards is again, and also this time round, it's now you'll put me right on this, is it the Inspirational Awards? It's the Women Inspire Awards, is it?
Something like that.
Yeah,
yes.
So it's that one as well. So there's 2 separate awards this year around inspiration and personal training. Yeah.
And am I right in saying that Linda and Liz have been nominated, or was that last year?
So Linda Bezic was nominated. Liz might have been as well, actually, but it was Linda that won it. Yeah.
Linda won it.
Linda
and Liz
won
Whittle is the other lady,
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've obviously had a quick conversation about this, but just to be in a category with women like that is, I know people say, and it sounds quite cheesy, but it is. It's really lovely just to be in a group of people like that. Because we're all just doing our own things, and we're all very passionate about what we do, and we're all genuinely wanting to help people.
The beautiful thing is, some people try to get recognised for doing something and don't. Other people just do what they love and follow the passion in their heart, what you call in Buddhism the Dharma, following this, and not setting out for any accolade, any award, but then you get recognised for what you do anyway, and that's what you're doing.
So it is very nice to be nominated.
And all the people in that group, that echelon, are helping people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you look at us collectively, we're trying to get out and help as many people as possible, and that's just a really beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't ever, people often talk to me about competition. It's like, I never see another coach or another trainer as competition, because as far as I'm concerned, if they're out there trying to help people, that's what it's all about. So I don't believe in competition like that. No. It's just everyone's out there doing a good thing.
Wonderful. So, Sally, if somebody wanted to do a session with you, and maybe they wanted a personal training session, or they wanted to have a chat with you about it, how would they get in touch with you?
So probably the best way is either to go onto my website, which is eattrainlove.co.uk, or I'm on all the obvious social
Twitter,
media.
LinkedIn, Facebook,
so Instagram and Facebook I'm particularly
prevalent on.
Yes. Twitter, not so much, but I do have obviously Twitter presence, and also LinkedIn. So all of the above. Yeah.
Okay. Sally, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Oh, we forgot one more thing. You actually wrote for the Bolton Evening News, didn't you?
Well remembered. I did.
You're a writer too.
So I started New Year's Day last year. Actually, 2019 was my first column. I was the health and fitness columnist for the Bolton News. Yeah, which was, again, great experience. And I did it for 6 months. And I felt really fortunate that I was asked to do it. And then other things got in its way, so it had to.
I think when you're fulfilling your dharma, when you're enjoying bliss and you love what you're doing, you draw. I say the frequency you display attracts the people in your day. When you're emitting love, peace, joy, bliss, harmony, then good things just come to you. Eventually. Yeah, it's a nice way to think that, isn't it? Yeah. Kelsang Chosang, who's a good friend of mine. She's a monk that lives up, or a nun that lives up at Manjusri, and she always says, we'd talk about something and say, yeah, but this isn't working, or why is that? And she'd go, eventually. Eventually. It just means that you'll get there. So. Thanks, Sally. Thanks for coming on the show. It's been brilliant.
Thanks for having me. It's been fab. Loved it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch me on Salford City Radio every Monday night on 94.4 FM with the Mind, Body and Spirit Show. You can buy my book in any number of places, including Amazon, and you can also get the audio book, which is now available on iTunes and audible.com, and also Amazon again. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can go to my website, which is midnightmcbride.com. You can subscribe to this podcast if you like, and there's at least one show filmed every single week on YouTube. And you can also get the audio version of this podcast on Spotify, Podbean and iTunes. I'm going to leave you with a quote now from my book, From Pills to Peace. I'm actually going to leave you with 2 quotes this week, and I think they're relevant to what we talked about on this show. The first quote from Pills to Peace by Midnight McBride is, "To find the 2, you must try the 10. So if you're going to find a couple of things that work for you and find your inner peace, joy and bliss, you may have to try several to get there. So you may have to try 10 things to find the 2 that work. But if you don't try the 10, you won't find the 2. So always have the door open and be available to try new things." And the second one is a bit of a joke at the end of the book, and it's mind first, bum second. A lot of people go to the gym and they prioritise the physical fitness and the way they look and exercise prior to the mind. It's really important to get the mind right first. You get the operating system working correctly, and everything else, including your diet, nutrition, exercise, generally follows suit when you feel good. This has been Midnight McBride. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I'll see you the same time next week. Shalom. I talk about RAM and ROM, and RAM is random access memory and ROM's read-only memory. You've got 2 types of memory with a computer, and read-only memory is like the age of up to, say, 13, 14, 15. It's the stuff that it's programmed and you can't really undo it, or not very easily.
Yeah.
RAM is what they call random access memory, and from the age of 15 onwards, the stuff, you can pretty much, stuff comes in, bad stuff, and you can pretty much say, no, I don't want that, get rid of it, and change.
Yeah.
So you can reprogram a lot of your adulthood, but when you're a child in your formative years, that stuff sticks with you.
Yeah.
And I know this because I got mugged when I was quite young, and I got beat up and blooded up, and it wasn't good. And that took me a long time to get over. But then prior to that, I'd been attacked when I was older and stuff, and I was violent anyway, I beat people up. And that stuff was dead easy, just like water off a duck's back. But the stuff that happens when you're a kid, it can really mess you up. Can't it? You know? And being Buddhist means that we don't actually believe anybody ever actually really dies. You just change form, you move to another realm. You know, you go from this physical realm to a spiritual realm, and be possibly reincarnated. Your life force, your true self, your true nature never dies.
Yeah.
You know, your soul, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And so I've become quite adept in, lots of bereavement in the last few years. And the last 3 or 4 funerals I've been to, I haven't cried. I don't get upset. Right. Nothing. I don't see it as being terribly sad. I just think that certainly if somebody's ill as well, that they're not in pain now and they've moved to a better place. And we're all going there anyway.
Yeah.
We don't know when.
Yeah.
So
true.
I thought it's helped me deal with death.
Yeah.